Mr. Delaney?
Pursuant to the requirements of New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice, which was filed in the office of the Township Clerk, posted on the bulletin board and on the Borough website, and published as a legal notice in Suburban Trends newspaper, and mailed to those persons requesting notice and providing payment in accordance with Township policy.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a prayer and a moment of thanks for individuals serving our nation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Most gracious Providence, we ask that you bless this governing body with an abundance of wisdom and understanding so that every deliberation will result in action which will promote the common good and general welfare for all the people of Pequannock Township. Amen.
Okay, the clerk will please call the roll.
Mr. Cole?
Here?
Mr. Phelan?
Here.
Mr. Vanderhoff?
Here.
Ms. Witterfield?
Here.
Mayor Florence Lynch?
Here. Okay, the next item on the agenda is presentations. Chief Spring is going to announce the promotions and appointments in his department for this coming year.
I, Christopher DePike,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
all the duties
as Pequannock Township Police Captain
as Pequannock Township Police Captain
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you.
I
I, Daniel Pugh,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and
and justly perform
all the duties as Pequannock Township Police Lieutenant
all the duties as Pequannock Township Police Lieutenant
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me
So
God.
help me God.
Congratulations. solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
That
of
I
the
will-
United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and in this state
and in the state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
and justly perform
all the duties as Pequannock Township Police Sergeant
all the duties as Pequannock Township Police Sergeant
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. I just want to say something real quick. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Raise your right hand.
I, Matthew Halligan,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties as Pequannock Township Police Officer
all the duties as Pequannock Township Police Officer,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Before Chief Spring announces everything, I just want to express our gratitude to the entire department for all you guys do and gals to keep our town safe for all its residents. You're all dedicated and really appreciate
Thank you very much. First thing I'd like to do is call up retired Captain Dan Dooley. I've worked with Dan for 25 years. We went from back in the late 80s and early 90s competing for DWI arrest numbers to working side by side for the better part of the last 10 years. Dan's a very detail-oriented guy. He's a very by-the-book guy, and we will miss him for that. He was great to have as a number 2, and we wish him well now with his new career with Atlanta Health. Quickly, I'd like to acknowledge retired Chief Bill Montano, who was kind enough to come tonight, and a lot of what you see here is because of what he actually started, and he gave a lot of people a lot of chances, including me, and very grateful. Moving forward, we are becoming a very young department, as evidenced by the fact that I'm the old man now, which I never thought I'd see that day, but it's here. We have a great administrative staff. Our new Captain Chris DePite, our new Lieutenant Dan Commune, and our new Sergeant George Lane. I work very closely with all of them. I have the utmost faith in them. I have a great number 2 guy now in Chris. He's like Dan, a very detail-oriented guy, and he's got a great human touch, and I'm really going to enjoy working side by side with Chris. We were able to steal Matt Halligan from Mendham Township, where he had worked for about 1.5 years before he came here. So Matt comes to us with a little bit of experience, and he's also a homegrown kid. He grew up in town, so he'll fit right in. And in the couple months that he's been here, we've seen already that he's very aggressive, and he fits right in with our guys. And it's a very good addition to the department. I look forward to working with Matt. Other than that, I would just like to thank the council. As always, we could not do what we do. We could not hire the quality people we hire without their support. And I just want them to know that without their support, we couldn't do nearly what we're doing now. Again, we have a young, aggressive department. All our officers are very people-oriented, and I really look forward to the next few years. Thank you guys very much.
You can stay if you want. You are welcome to stay.
Thank you all for coming.
I guess we'll get a cover on. Yeah, you know. Yeah, you might as well.
You might as well, right? I see.
I've ever seen it so much. When it's been fairly it's almost standing.
Hello.
You want to see the crew? Thank you.
We didn't pay the bill. That's not good. Right. But that might not be other. Did you ask Dave or no? He's probably got enough photos.
This is more like it.
Right. Is that your coat? Yes. Okay, we thought somebody left their coat.
It was on the floor, so I figured I better put it on a chair.
Yeah,
Keep an eye on it.
because now there's lots of chairs.
Yeah.
I don't have to sit. I'm gonna have to check and see why my email on here doesn't work. Somehow. Only through the web, not. Like I got all kinds of questions. It's so fast.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
You just couldn't get in it.
It's really better in spring.
You got Frank working the camera, good, we gave him something to do. Keep him busy. You working the camera? Here's what's on.
Oh, that's exciting. We should tell him. Yeah, maybe that's it too. Maybe he doesn't want to get caught by somebody and have to answer questions. Hey, it looks nice.
Hi, how are you? Happy New Year.
Okay, next we were going to do an Eagle Scout proclamation, but at the last minute he could not attend. It was an Eagle Scout proclamation for Robert White. Some of the council members did go to his ceremony, so he'll be rescheduling at a later date. At this point, we're going to do reports from volunteers. Are there any comments from any of the volunteers serving our community? Louise?
I want to go in order. Hi, Louise Marchese. I'm a member of the Flood Committee. And at our last meeting, Jim Hofstetter works for the Flood Administration. He attended it along with a guest speaker with Rod Scott. And he spoke to us about not only the elevation of houses, but how we can obtain grants. Also, the committee has decided we would like to have an event sometime this year to involve the entire flood community, where we would get people that actually specialize in, let's say, flood insurance, elevations, etc., to once again educate the flood community and do anything that we can do to help them. The committee decided at the last meeting that Ken Hardiker will be our chairperson, Nick DiStefano will be co-chair, and Darrell will remain as secretary. Okay, that takes care of that committee. Next, I also serve on the Economic Committee. I'm the recording secretary. At our last meeting, we discussed, and this will be presented to the council, I just want you to know it was just something that was discussed. We're thinking of possibly creating a student position, maybe going to the organization at the high school, Future Business Leaders of America, FBLA. We even want to contact them at this point in time and just let them know that our meetings are open meetings and they are welcome to attend, and we would definitely enjoy their input. Also, what was discussed at the last meeting is possibly having someone attend trade shows, in particular, possibly franchises, anything that we could do to possibly get some more new business in town. We've also been discussing possibly putting together a booklet. This booklet would that would be putting together would be something that we could, where we're actually selling the town to either new residents coming in or new businesses, either. Also, we plan on having, hopefully sometime this year, 2 events, and one of them might even be for the landlords instead of the business owners themselves. We've included the landlords. It was discussed about getting signs that someone had mentioned, they've seen signs that come out of the buildings, not to necessarily have the name of the business, but possibly might think of having the type of business that it is. They've seen it done in other towns. And last but not least, I want to mention that Stop and Shop is coming into town. I know that many people are happy about it, and I think it's going to work out better. It's a larger supermarket chain. It's more lucrative. And like the saying goes, good things come to those who wait. Congratulations, Melissa.
Thank you,
Louise, can I
Louise.
ask you a question before you run away? Where are we at with Pequannock? Has anybody else joined?
I don't know, because we didn't have a meeting since last meeting. Last meeting, everything was flat. and
Right,
same.
they haven't had a meeting
It's flat.
this month yet, but there was
With
one
the fourth
new one.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Are you aware of anybody joining?
I was aware of one that joined within the last 60 days. I can't remember the name of the business off the top of my head, but we did get one more.
Is it running out of steam or?
No, something I had talked to Dave about earlier, that we want to make sure we don't run out of steam. So Thursday, I have the two gentlemen from FinCredit coming in. We have appointments set up, and I'm making time for them on Thursday. I asked Dave if he wanted to join us. He didn't have anything specific, but if you'd like to join us, we'd love it.
What time?
3:30 or 4:30, I forget what time,
4:30
but
works better
yeah.
for me. Because I
It was
don't
later.
hear a lot of chatter about it anymore.
Right.
There's not people talking about it anymore,
Yeah.
so it's running out of steam. So
Yeah, that's what I mentioned to
we
Dave
need to
today.
rejuvenate it or do whatever we have to do.
Yep.
I use mine
I agree.
mainly at Jersey Johnny's.
No, but you're right, we do, I mentioned that today, we do need something.
As of the last meeting, it was flat.
Mhm.
But this meeting coming up, maybe something will happen.
Okay. Any other committees? Okay, Ms. Bowman.
Madam Major, council members, I'm Bill Zickler, Chairman of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. I was invited by Councilman Cole to report to you the activities of this committee. We met last night and were very concerned about the safety of the ice conditions on our lake and the two ponds that we have. Woodland Lake should be posted and will be posted with signs indicating the safety and the thickness of the ice, as well as when it is unsafe to be on the ice. We also have Greenview Park Pond, which level of water is very low at this time, but it always has been a place where families with children have been ice skating all winter long when the weather conditions permitted it. The other place that we have is at the Mountainside Park, the pond down there. All three locations will be posted with signs so that people that get there don't go on the ice when it is unsafe. The other thing too is that the pond in the Greenview Park is very low. Now there's a reason for it. No water is being fed into it, I understand. And also there's a problem or a challenge with the lining of that particular pond. That clay lining apparently has deteriorated and water is leaking out of it. But with that fire pit that we have over there, it always was a pleasure. I used that pond for skating with my children, with my grandchildren, and I think we should look at it and find out what can be done to go ahead and repair, maintain, or do something with that lining in that particular pond.
Hey,
All right, thank you, Bill.
all right, Bill, Mayor, let me just make one comment. You know the reason why we're not pumping water into this
Yes.
pond now, because the cost of the water is so high, because we're buying water from north.
Correct, yeah.
And the council is looking into ways to reline that or do something else with that pond. So we apologize, but due to the amount of money that it costs us to keep that pond full, management has decided not to fill that pond anymore.
What will we do with that pond?
We don't know yet. We're going to look at the budget and figure out what we're going to do with it, right?
It's not going to be filled, is it, to make another sports field out of it?
Well,
I mean, that's what I've heard.
Any rumors would be premature, but I don't think it's appropriate to take anything off the table in terms of the possibilities for what the future might hold for that area of the.
I hope it remains a park and not a sporting event place.
Comes down to money.
I understand.
There's financial considerations and there's usage considerations, and staff is currently going through a process of coming up with alternatives and costs for those alternatives, which will then be turned over to both the advisory board and the governing body for consideration to look at the alternatives. It's going to be a topic that will be, we'll receive feedback through a community survey that we're going to do. So, again, it's premature to say we're going to do this or we're going to do that because I don't know what the final answer is. But currently, the cost of pumping water into that it just doesn't make sense.
That is because we have to purchase the water from the Newark watershed?
Correct, because we're buying water, and it takes a lot of water to fill it. The average cost over the last several years is, if we were paying for the water, rather than just pumping it through our own wells, would be about $10,000 annually. It's a lot of money to keep that filled. So we're looking at alternatives, and it will be the topic of a discussion over the course of the next 6-8 months to determine what the future of that area is going to be. Whether it gets relined, redone, or repurposed into either something similar or something completely different. I don't know. It's there's a lot of possibilities, and we're not administratively we're not closing our mind to anything. We're going to put the things on the table and let the democratic process work and determine what the future of it's going to be. We're aware of it. In terms of, I just want to make a comment about the ice skating or the ice thickness and the posting. That is something that we take very seriously, and it is posted in terms of the 3 locations that you mentioned. The Woodland Lake, our park ranger takes ice depths on a regular basis, and no one is permitted on the ice, and there are signs posted, when it is not permitted, when it's not safe, and as recently as a couple days ago, the thickness was about 8 inches, so it was currently safe, and we monitor that on a regular basis.
Maybe we could post it on channel 77 if the ice is not suitable for people to step on it.
The 77, we can put it on the website when it is or when it isn't. We can certainly do that. We're always going to err on the side of safety, and if there's any thought that it might not be safe, we're not going to permit people on any ice. The Greenview Pond, really, if it's not thick, people shouldn't be on it, but it's not deep enough that it's going to, cause a safety issue other than someone getting up their knees wet. At no time are people permitted on the ice in Foothills Park. It's spring-fed. We do not measure the ice there. It's not safe to be on it. And if there aren't signs there, there should be. There were. There have been in the past. And if there aren't, we'll get signs out there.
I think, Dave, our biggest concern was that the signs that are there aren't big enough right now, because there was an email that went out Friday that Woodland Lake was safe to skate.
Correct.
A woman went out on Saturday and was ushered off by the police saying that it wasn't safe. And she said, I got an email yesterday saying that it was safe. And she wasn't aware, she didn't see the sign that was there. So we thought that we could do a better job at the signage, or doing some sort of flag if it's safe, or a flag if it's not safe, something better than what we were doing, because she was truly embarrassed that she had to be escorted off the lake by the police department. So.
Well, that was the concern that was expressed at last night's meeting. One other item is that the farmers market, as you probably are aware, will be moved from the present Mountainside Park area to the PV Park area in front of PV Park, and it should not be interfering with the patrons of the lake that come there during the summer for the next season. One other item is the Senior Olympics, where we participate with 6 towns, including ourselves. We have to reconfigure our game that we are playing. For the simple reason, it is just too long. We are always the last ones finishing up, and we're holding up the middle outlay, the middle distribution. We discussed that. We will reconfigure the game that we have. We have a T-ball game, or come up with a new game. And the new game we discussed, there are a couple of opportunities that we have, because that always has been a very successful event for the seniors. One other item that was brought to the attention last night of one of our new members, Alberta, she used Lincoln Park during the time when our swimming area was closed. That one day she was well received over there. However, she was asked a bunch of questions. She showed her PVID, and she still was asked to be sponsored by somebody from Lincoln Park. Well, I understand an employee of the waterfront people actually invited her to be her guest. It is our understanding that you were informed there is a reciprocal agreement that was presented by Lincoln Park to the Township of Pequannock, and that it is under review.
Right.
That it will be fed back to Lincoln Park or will be executed or something will be done with that.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, we had talked about this before, and it was always a reciprocal agreement. They just wanted to standardize it a little bit more and put it in writing.
They wanted to put it in writing.
Right, so I think we've addressed that.
And I think we've been consistent in saying that, by the beginning of this season, we will have an agreement in place with Lincoln Park.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, any other reports from committee members? Frank?
Frank Spazzeri, 35 West Franklin Avenue. Actually, I have some good news for you. I'm going to be the chairman of Open Space again this year. So there you go. Also, Robin Jones, who is in the audience there, he's going to be my vice chair, and Chris Latito is going to be the secretary. We had a very interesting meeting last night, and as you know, we've been working on the easement agreements. Aaron from Land Conservancy was there. Well, let me preface this. We had a meeting with Dave and Bob and Land Conservancy, myself, and the two reps from Land Conservancy, and we went over the agreements. We asked for some changes, and they did make the changes, and that's what we went over last night with the committee. The committee agrees that the two that we have, and we have two agreements. One is for non-residential and one is for residential, because we wanted to differentiate what people can do on specific pieces of property. I just talked to Bob, and he's in agreement that if we said it was okay, he said it's okay. And I guess if Dave agrees, what we'll do is we'll get a final draft and we'll present it. I'll give it to Dave, and he can pass it out to you all before the next meeting so that you can read it and see what it's all about. And then if you have any questions, please write them down, and then when I come up next council meeting, I'll be glad to answer them. In a nutshell, the two differences, and I'll explain it to you right now before you even read it, is on the residential, we're asking for a 50-foot easement. The actual trail itself will be 10-foot wide. And in the residential, we want the people to stay within the 10-foot area and not to roam into the 50-foot areas. Whereas in the non-residential, we're giving them the latitude to move around in that 50-foot if they want to, but really stay on the trail. And we're also giving them river access for fishing. And we don't want to specifically say fishing, but if we give them river access, and there's some places that they could put maybe a canoe in or a boat or whatever, we wanted to give them that. So when you read that, you'll see the language in there, but I just wanted to preface the explanation so you have some idea of what you're going to be reading. The rest of the meeting was okay. We have a new member from the environmental, Jeffrey Morello. Yeah. So we're glad to have him there. We're going to miss Rudy, but he's over in Parks and Rec now, so we'll have to put up with him over there. No, but that's all I have, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Frank. Good job. Okay, any other reports from committee members? Okay. The next item on our agenda is number 7, public comment. This public comment period will be limited to a total of 30 minutes. An additional period for public comment is reserved later in the meeting. Individuals are requested to limit their questions and comments to 3 minutes. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized to come to the microphone and provide your name and address for the record. Anyone for public comment? Okay. Oh, yes. Come on up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Patrick Coyle, 14 Ackerson Avenue, Pequannock.
John Buffalo, 12 Ackerson, Pequannock.
So thank you for your time tonight. Try and keep it brief. We're looking forward to this for quite a few years, and I think it's come to a head. I moved to Pequannock when my wife was pregnant with our first. We have 3 girls, the latest at 3 months, because it's somewhere where I wanted to raise my family. Little did I know when we moved in that Ackerson Avenue was more like a highway than a regular road. So within the first year, someone crashed in front of our house in our car, flipped over in front of it. So by the estimation of the police at the time, they thought they were traveling about 50 miles an hour. That was later followed by a T-bone accident. Later that year, there's been 4 total accidents in front of my house, the corner of Henry and Ackerson Avenue. We've repeatedly asked for some speed monitoring, potentially stop signs, speed bumps, and it's become the attention of the whole entire street now. There was an accident last week where if there wasn't snow, the person would have crashed into the house across the street. Unfortunately, they couldn't be here today because they're traveling on business. It's gotten to the point where we don't let the kids anywhere outside in the front. I've seen fights almost occur. An accident last year, an older gentleman almost punched a younger gentleman that I had to break up because the younger gentleman didn't stop through the stop sign. It's not safe. It's really got the attention of all the people on the street. We all have, on average, 2 children, and we're at wit's end because I left off a cat that was run over in front of our house. That was the neighbor's cat. And we don't want this to end in tragedy, and it will end in tragedy for somebody if we don't do something. Unfortunately, this is the event that we have to come out.
This is the first time I'm hearing of that area, but I know our police department has been out monitoring the traffic, and they have a lot of recommendations and things that we're doing. I know they were concentrating a lot on the Turnpike and other areas of Pequannock. Ackerson Ave, I guess, is another area. I don't know if that's been monitored.
Mayor, can I say something? We had asked for a traffic study of
Yes.
that corner.
Yeah.
And I think
Was it that
the police
corner?
department did do a traffic study.
Did they do one on that corner?
There's been at least 2 since we've lived there, and
Oh, okay.
in informal conversations, they've spoke. I've asked them, what are your thresholds? What's the study entail? They've recognized that people clearly go over 50 miles an hour on a speed limit 30. I don't even understand why the speed limit's 30 because to me it's a residential area. Everyone cuts through to go to Greenview Park. 30 is definitely too fast. 50 miles an hour is too fast, and that you'll see that any hour of the day, night or in the morning. And it's so dangerous you don't even want to back out of your driveway sometimes in reverse. I don't know if.
I agree. I walk my dogs even at 5 in the morning before I go to work, and people just fly down the street. It's frightening. And I have 2 small children as well.
So there have been 2 studies on that.
Yeah, I don't know that we've done a full study with like a traffic count. I mean, the request that has previously come to my office and we've looked at was for a 4-way stop at that intersection, and the traffic counts, you need relatively equal traffic counts at the cross intersections for a 4-way stop to be legitimate and be approved. And because Ackerson has a much higher traffic count than Henry, Daria, yeah, it's just not feasible. We're not going to be able to get that in place. The other thing that we've been asked to look at, the speed bumps and our history with speed bumps or humps, or whatever you want to call them, is that they cause as many issues as they resolve. For modern cars, they don't really slow down. They'll take them at whatever speed they're going, and they create a huge drainage and noise nuisance for the neighbors. So you're dealing not only with the traffic, but now you've got new problems. Yeah, we'll certainly continue to look at potential resolutions. There are traffic calming measures that can be installed, both visually and physically, that can reduce people's speed. Some of those measures are inconvenient to the residents. So, as we go through this process and look at potential options to get people to slow down.
Just so you know, a car flipped over in front of our house.
I understand.
Hit one of our guests' cars. A mother who was trying to look for a bottle for her infant in the back seat. The stop signs are on the slowest road with no traffic at all, Daria and Henry. It is, to me, incomprehensible that we wouldn't consider changing those stop signs at least to the Ackerson part where 90% of that traffic is coming from. Because I guarantee you, any vote on that street, every one of the people would gladly take noise over possibly a lost child. Because that is what it will come down to at some point. And we just have to look to last week when a car crashed into the snowbank in someone's front yard. That if that was not there, it would have gone into their house. Someone with 2 children. So this is, I mean, we cannot sit by and wait anymore for something to happen unless everyone wants this blood on their hands. Okay, I have 3 children. We all care about the community. We came here because we love where we are, we love our children, we love our family, and we want to keep it that way. We do not want something to happen.
I understand, and I understand that it's an incredibly emotionally charged issue for you. Believe me, I'm a parent. I have 2 young daughters myself. I've had 3 cars destroyed in front of my own house on the boulevard with people driving into them. So I get it. I understand.
We've had more. More than that.
We will work with you to come up with some type of resolution, but not every. To the extent that roads are designed for cars to travel, we just can't put stop signs anywhere we want. The stop signs have a specific purpose to stop traffic, on secondary roads into primary roads. They're not designed to be, traffic stopping devices. They're not. And I understand from your perspective that seems to be a good solution to this.
I'm looking for any solution.
I know.
None has been presented in 6 years. So
I'm going to ask you.
The next step is to have community members like me move out of the town.
What I'm going to suggest to you is that call my office, the township manager, make an appointment with you and whatever neighbors you want to attend, and I'll make myself available after hours if it's more convenient, and I'll have a representative of the police department there, and we can sit down and discuss realistic possible alternatives to try and address the issue.
Right. One of the other things that the council is looking to do this year is purchase these signs, these speed signs that actually tell you the speed that you're traveling on and mount them in certain areas in the town. So that's something that we're looking for, putting in our budget. They're about $2,000 a piece. There are some that actually give tickets out too, but we wouldn't go down that route. But someday it may come down to that.
Well, we all put signs that the children play in front of our house, 4 houses, and it doesn't deter anyone.
No, but with these particular signs, what happens is as I'm driving down the road, people don't realize how fast they're going, and suddenly you get a flashing sign that says that you're doing 50 in a 35-mile-an-hour zone or a 30-mile-an-hour zone. Most people will slow down once they realize that they're going too fast. People nowadays just don't realize how fast they're going. I mean, I'm not making excuses for anybody.
But it's true.
But it's true.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've seen speed bumps. We all know there's a few streets here that are parallel, that are cut.
Yeah, we find that they don't work, though, the speed bumps. But these signs would be very similar to the ones that you see on the turnpike down in Wayne. As you come from Wayne over the bridge, there's one down in there in Pequannock. So maybe something like that will help with the traffic. That'll be a traffic calming measure. We'll look at that.
Well, we'd love to try.
We recognize there's a problem. The council recognizes there, not only on your street, on numerous other streets in this town, people speed on. And I know the police department has been making a concerted effort to try to ticket people for speeding in these back streets around our town. So it's not like we're hanging out on Route 23 giving tickets out all the time. We're also doing it in town. And, unfortunately, a lot of our residents get tickets doing this. So
the town will continue to work with you.
Okay. I mean, so we'd love to set up a follow-up.
Dave,
Very good.
what needs to be done to lower the speed limit on that street? Is it possible, or?
The correct process to set a speed limit is to do a speed study, which involves measuring the speed of people traveling, and there's a formula, with a bell curve, and where people are comfortable traveling, and it's a percentage of that. The problem with doing that is that occasionally, when you do the study, you realize that the correct speed is actually higher than what the posted speed. So usually, especially on residential streets, and state law, 25 is the standard. We have a dozen streets in town where it's 30 because they're slightly higher traffic or more primary and have the correct width and so forth. In my experience, it's inadvisable to do the study in an attempt to lower the speed limit.
We had talked about that on North Compton Turnpike.
Right.
Same thing. We wanted the speed limit
did.
lowered on North Compton Turnpike.
And we
But it's
can
not
do
that
it.
easy. It's not
Right.
like we can just go up and tack up some signs that say, look, you gotta do 25 miles an hour.
My only concern is that we want to put issues of traffic ahead of issues of safety, and it sounds like if
No,
we're going to be closing the
No,
process
that's not the
very
case.
limited
It's not the case.
solutions, then
Right. We'll continue to work with you. Call the manager's office and set up an appointment, and the town will continue to work with you. Thank you for your comments.
thank you. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else from the public have any comments? No? All right, at this time, we've reached 30 minutes of public comment. As previously noted, an additional period for public comment is reserved for later in the meeting. Next on our agenda is item number 8. There are no public hearings scheduled for this evening, so we'll move to agenda item 9. There are no ordinances scheduled at this time for introduction. The next item will be number 10, are resolutions for approval. Mr. Delaney, will you please read the resolutions by title?
Resolution R 2014-38 approving junior firefighter membership. R 2014-39 authorizing release of designated escrow deposits. R 2014-40 authorizing the contract for emergency medical services with Atlantic Ambulance Corp. R 2014-21 authorizing the employment agreement with the township manager, CFO. 2014-42 authorizing the contract for open space advisory services with the Land Conservancy of New Jersey. R 2014-43 authorizing contracts for professional services to Joshua D. Makoff LLC and Norman J. Goldberg Incorporated to provide property appraisals in conjunction with the purchase of property. R 2014-44 supporting Assembly Resolution number 139 urging Congress to dedicate additional federal funds for highway maintenance and infrastructure improvements in New Jersey.
Okay, and everyone should have received the corrected copy of the resolution 2014-41. Everyone received that, correct?
I got 2 copies.
Okay, are there any comments on any of the resolutions from the council?
Hey, what's the deal with Atlantic Ambulance? Is it because Hope is taking over?
Well, our last contract renewal with them was a 1 year because of the proposed Atlantic merger. We didn't want to go beyond that. That merger is now in place and in various stages of implementation. The kind of taking over of the ambulance service is complete at this point, so our contract going forward is going to be with Atlantic Health. We did have a meeting. Actually, the personnel involved at Chilton in terms of running the Chilton response are the same. And their indication is that's going to remain that way for the time being. There are no changes in our protocol or procedure. The Atlantic is going to honor all the terms and commitments of our previous contract. And we did meet with them just a couple of weeks ago to kind of go over this and finalize it to our satisfaction that there's not going to be any major changes in service level. And we expressed our concerns over the availability to serve our residents, and fully understanding that the service now is well utilized by our surrounding communities, our mutual aid towns. We made it very clear that, our intent with this contract is to ensure that we have timely service for our residents, and they understood that. And actually, the depth of Atlantic's service actually enhances their ability to be able to do that. They service another community not far from here, that gives them access to a third daytime ambulance in the event that 931, 932 are called out. So
There haven't been too many calls other than the two that recently just happened. So I would assume that.
And they were special situations.
No, I know. But I would assume that Atlantic is happy with the contract.
Yeah, Atlantic seems fine with the contract, and like I said, it's the same people that we're working with at Chilton, same contacts, same dispatch procedure, so, and our recommendation is to move forward with this contract.
How long is the contract for?
It's 3 years, it has a termination clause, and it's renewable beyond the third year.
Same termination clause?
Yes.
Okay, good. Rich, anything else? Jay, anything? Kathy, anything?
The only thing I wanted to just support is 2014-44, the one for the highway maintenance and infrastructure. I read that and I did some research on that today, and it's appalling that the way our highways are taken care of here, and that we only get back 61 cents on the dollar from the federal government. I knew it was bad, but I didn't really know that it was that bad. So, and actually 200 deaths in New Jersey are attributed to the conditions of our highways. So this is a resolution that we're putting forth to our Congress and elected officials to support that they put a resolution asking them to send money back to New Jersey to fix our highways. So I'm happy to see this. I fully support it, and I would suggest anybody, a member of the public, read this, get behind this, and write yourself to your congressman.
Yeah, good. The minute I received that, because we got it in our mailboxes, I had called the clerk's office and asked him to put it on the
Yeah.
agenda, because it's such a great,
It's amazing.
you want to support that
Yeah,
legislation.
and that's it.
Okay. Dave, anything?
I just had a question about Atlantic, and it was answered by Dave and Rich, so thank you.
Okay. All right, hearing no other objections, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2014-38 through 2014-44.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Kathy?
You rehearsed that.
Okay. I guess roll call?
Mr. Cole?
Yes?
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderhoff?
Yes.
Ms. Winterfield?
Yes.
Mayor Florence Lynch?
Yes. Okay. All right, next on the agenda is items for discussion. We have two on there. First one is regarding the community garden. I just wanted to, we're going to have some discussion on that tonight. Now, my understanding is that the community garden members have requested that Parks and Rec perhaps run the garden as a program under their department. So I don't know if any of the members from the garden want to come up and talk about that, or if the council has some thoughts on that.
Well, if you, we do have a request from the community garden to take on the garden as a program and run it through our recreation, which we, the township is fine with recreation. It's not a problem. The reason that it's an item for discussion is because it has been an issue that's been before council recently. So I want council to be involved in the final resolution of this, and I want there to be a fairly clear understanding of what everyone's roles and responsibilities are going to be moving forward, exactly who's going to be doing what. So that's why it's here, and I'll, if there's someone from the garden who wants to speak.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone has any input, but my understanding is that they would like some, help running it as a program, which I don't see a problem with. The council wants very little involvement in it. I don't know if the other council members have
Well, I guess,
some
Dave,
comments.
I'd like to hear what are you thinking about the roles and
Right.
responsibilities?
What's Parks and Rec's involvement in this?
Collection of the fees, assignment of keys, And, a couple of the outstanding questions are, who's going to sign the plots? And we're fine either way with the club doing that or with us doing that. Yeah, regular maintenance type items of, the fence, the grounds, things like that. Is that going to be a township responsibility or a club responsibility? And I think probably one of the biggest questions is going to be eventual replacement of the boxes. Who's going to be responsible for that? I think that should be identified now, and what the method is for kind of doing it. So that's.
Okay. Well, I think it would be
That-
great.
that's
to
the
hear
direction
from
that we're
Joe
looking
or
for.
somebody who's been very involved in this.
Well, who would monitor like the conformance to, or would there be new rules set as to if somebody is encroaching on another plot, or who would monitor all that?
Who monitors the weeds?
Well, it's not the weeds, but the other things that go on. I mean, who do you foresee doing that? Are they going to still have some kind of quasi membership, or do they meet, or is that a
They
park
provided
ranger?
the township with their rules,
Mhm.
and they're the gardeners. I think it's appropriate for them to collectively set what the rules are, and I think having it under the township auspices provides an opportunity for dispute resolution if they can't do something.
So is that where if there was an issue with someone's plot, they would come to Parks and Rec, they would go to Parks and Rec Committee, they would go to,
Well, I think it would
what's the
come-
protocol?
I think it would come to Parks and Rec to see
resolve.
see if it can be resolved simply administratively.
Mhm.
And if not, we go through, what would be a typical escalation of, it keeps going until we figure out how to fix it.
Okay.
Will we be paying anybody a stipend?
No,
No. That was-
the typical program structure is recreation collects fees, takes a certain percentage for the management. Our typical is 20, so if it were a $25 fee, $5 would be going to, essentially the recreation utility for management, and $20 would be dedicated back to the program for expenses, water purchase and so forth. And I think that's where the question about the box replacement comes in. If that's something the club is going to keep and maintain, that's fine. If there's some expectation the township is going to financially support boxes, I think we need to calculate that into whatever the membership or initiation fee or whatever.
That would become a budget item?
Well, that's what we
Well,
need to discuss.
Through the utility.
I mean, I personally think it's a great idea. Parks and Rec can really, if you've been on their, on the website lately, they've been doing a lot of promotion and things of different programs, so maybe that'll help promote the garden.
Well, I don't think it really needs any more
Yeah.
promoting, because it's
Right.
already to capacity, so
Right,
promoting it
right,
would cause a
right.
real issue.
But I'm thinking like when you were talking,
You know,
well,
yeah.
because then there was that whole discussion about eventually if, they needed to expand. But I would think when it comes to replacing the boxes and stuff, I mean, I guess in the past we've worked on donated items and,
Right.
and, hopefully that will continue.
But I have to ask, and I have to ask Joe, and I have to ask Robin, because they put a lot of
Right.
time and effort into this whole thing, if they're okay with this idea, concept.
Well, I see we have some of the members of the garden
Right.
here. I would like to hear what their comments are before I address this.
Okay, you want to come up you can come up.
Good evening. I'm Mary Ann Moss, 11 Meyer Place, Pumpkin Plains. First of all, I want to thank all of you for getting involved in the garden. It's I think that it will be a good thing for everyone. My concern, I think it's an ideal thing, but we're now a committee, so to speak, within the town. Joe is going to be what they call our director. He was voted, where he will, what's it, collect money, Joe? What is it?
I'm going to sign the user's contract.
Yeah, okay. Or people come to the town and they pay their money or whatever have you. I have a couple concerns. When we give the money to the town, it's supposed to be for insurance or whatever have you. Does that include a husband and wife? Because some people are single, some people garden with their spouses. do we pay, is there a plan for families, or is there just a single plan? Because what if somebody, somebody got hurt, say, whatever. You want to know if you're covered. And I have no problem with a family or paying for liability for my husband and for myself. I have no problem with that at all.
So
Yeah,
if I
but-
apply for a plot and I put down Rich entities failing,
Right.
$5, that's our one plot.
Right.
I would think-
Yeah, it was
But
by the
that's not
plot,
one
not by the
plot,
family.
because in
It's
lots
not
of
like a
times,
swim
Rich,
club or something.
it's a couple plots or what have you.
But I would request 2 plots.
Right.
Then you would.
But the thing is, and I don't know if we're paying by plots or, I don't know, that wasn't discussed.
Yeah.
Because most of us have a couple plots.
Yeah, I would assume it's by plots.
And I guess I'm confused about the insurance thing, because
Yeah.
everybody's covered on any parkland
Right.
for anything. There's no
Absolutely.
insurance, special insurance for gardening.
No, it's property that we own
Mhm.
and control, and if we're gonna run it as a program, we actually do have program insurance.
Right.
So the insurance becomes a
A
non-issue.
non-issue.
That's a non-issue.
The
Right.
activity and the land is insured.
So you're not gonna incur another expense of insurance for
No.
doing this? I didn't think so. Okay.
Okay,
So-
now also, now the people that have emails, not, a lot of us are elderly, some people they don't have emails. My concern is how will they get messages that they know, because, we've had, a lot of different feedback, or I should say I have. The feedback has come in where, they're glad that we're doing it through Parks and Rec, they're happy about this, and what have you. But now what about some of the elderly people that don't have email addresses? Will they get,
Maybe
how,
they can get, maybe there can be flyers or notices. posted in
something, or
Parks and
something,
Rec that
maybe
you
put
can
it in the
pick up.
library,
Or
or,
the library.
However
You know.
we deal with other senior programs,
Sure.
I'm sure it'll be the same protocol.
Excuse me?
There's a kiosk there, right? You can post notices.
Yeah, I don't understand Mary, are you talking about members or for advertising?
no, say we were gonna do something, or,
Members.
that we needed to have members involved, Joe, that type of thing.
Well, right now, we have everybody's email address or phone number. It has never been an issue in 4
Right.
years.
Okay.
Well, a couple of people have told me they didn't know what's going on, but
Maybe if somebody doesn't have an email,
Yeah,
you can
maybe.
get a buddy that has one
I
that
don't
can
know.
call.
Everybody has an email, we have their phone numbers.
Right.
We send out a lot of emails and.
emails, we get plenty, yes, we get plenty of
So
it.
it's their due diligence to make sure we have a current email that they check. I
Now,
don't know what else we could do.
Right.
now, the other concern is, since we are a committee now, and we're calling what Joe is doing, he's a director, do we have a chair, a vice chair?
Well, it's really
Financial-
still
I
a
can't even
club.
imagine that
I
there
don't-
will be a committee once it goes
It's
to
not a
Park and Rec.
committee, it would just be a club under a Parks and Rec program.
The township, as we take this on, the township's gonna run it as a program, but you can continue to have an independent club, or however you wanna run it.
No, we're a garden, a community garden, that's
Right, the
Well,
the name of us.
But the group, and the township has this relationship with many other organizations, some of them larger, some of them smaller.
Right.
Little League, Lacrosse, Pequannock Soccer are all independent organizations who have programs that either use our property, are run jointly through recreation. So, to that extent, I don't think the intent was for council to, create an ordinance creating a
No,
garden
but I just
committee.
wanted to know how it would run through Parks and Rec, for example.
Or-
Well, you see the website for Park and Rec, whoever did it, it's phenomenal. And I see they have websites, for the soccer, for this, for that. Will we be able to have a website that we can advertise what we're doing?
They're gonna advertise the program
Program.
on their, under the Parks and Rec.
Well, we can certainly give
we can do
you, space and the advertisement and the email blasts as a program.
Right.
But if you want as a club, you're free to kind of do your own, just as those other clubs that I
Right.
mentioned do.
Right,
But
Okay.
there's limited plots, so it's like soccer, you get to a
Right.
certain point, or softball, or whatever.
so does it come like, how do we do it now? Because at the last meeting, Robin said that he thought there was more of plots that are empty now than there were people that applied for them, so,
That's all up to the club.
Right.
Town's gonna collect the money, help them by collecting.
but we're not
We're
being
gonna
called
help
a
facilitate
club,
it.
we're being called a garden.
It's
Or
really,
Same thing.
you can call it the community garden or the community
Operations
garden.
are yours, not the
Right.
township's.
Yeah, no, we don't, we don't, but I just wanted to know, how we go about this thing.
Like I
I
said,
think
part,
the rules you set, we're
Right.
not setting those rules.
we're not gonna set the rules, but Parks and Rec is gonna help facilitate the program, and we have already asked,
Overseeing.
and will have the rules and whatever those
And-
procedures are.
Right, we'll
Oversee what.
We'll implement the rules that you put in place in terms of,
You all agree to.
Okay,
if you want to put something in place that says, previous gardeners, get first dibs up to a given date, that's how we'll administer the program, but you've got to provide us that guidance. We're
I
not
think-
going to make that up.
I
Yeah,
think that's
yeah.
a great idea. I think whoever has a plot now has until a certain date to get their
to get their,
$5 fee in or whatever
Right.
fee in.
and it comes
And
through
if they
Parks
don't
and
get
Rec.
it in by that date,
So-
then you go to the list, and the person that's first on the list gets offered the plot that's available.
Right,
And then we go down the list and so on and so on.
no,
I do also think there should be something in there that if a person has paid their fee, but is not using it by a certain time that you need to
Right.
plant your seeds or whatever you do, I'm not that big of a gardener, but it should be a phone call or an email should go to that person and say, hey, are you going to use it this year? Is there some sort of circumstance that's preventing you from using it? If you're not gonna use it, we'd like to offer it to the next person that's on the list.
And that is in the rules, Dave.
It
That's
is in the
one of
rules.
the many rules that we have been evolving through group involvement and voting on language changing and shifting, adding, maybe subtracting. And that's in the kiosk, and members get a copy of that as well.
Great.
well, that's fine, but I just want to say is that we had a very nice turnout the other night, and, we had a vote, and people, they spoke up and said how they felt. And we've gotten phone calls, not myself directly, but other people have gotten phone calls, and they were very happy to know that the town was being involved within the garden through Parks and Recs and everything. They were very happy.
And that was my question, you had a good turnout, and all the community, the members of the community garden
Yeah,
wanted
these people,
Parks
but then
and
the
Rec
one,
to kinda
see, a
help
lot
out,
of people
facilitate.
didn't
Okay.
come to their meetings because they thought we were just too confrontational
Good.
and some of them were elderly, but they're happy about this, so,
Good. All right.
that's for a good thing. And I just want to thank you all again.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Anyone else have discussion about it?
Is there anyone else from the garden? Joe or Robin?
Joe?
I'm just going to give you a little bit of a recap. I try not to be too long-winded. I'm losing
Thank
my
you.
voice anyway as it is right now. But community garden is basically started off as a bunch of people with a common interest, going out there to grow some tomatoes. We first year Parks and Rec took over signing plots. We'd had keys at that time. We've since moved on to having a combination lock, so we don't have to worry about keys. And it's 4 years we've had so far, Robin?
I'm sorry.
This is the fifth year we're going into?
We're going into the fifth
Going to
year.
the fifth year. We never had a problem with anybody not getting a plot. We've always had, it filled up the first year. We had a couple people that got extra plots because there was not enough interest. And it seems to be pretty consistent. You get people come, they might not come back. We always end up having plots to take people in. And even the people that get an extra plot, if somebody comes in before the season starts, we'll take that plot from them and assign them a plot. We've never had a problem with anybody coming in and getting a plot. And the way we've basically worked it is we started off just as we keep throwing the word club, but we're not ever officially a club. Because to officially be a club, you have to, if you want to be a nonprofit, you have to incorporate. We've talked to Bob about this over and over. You have to incorporate, and then you can file to be a 501c7 or a 501c3, however you're going to qualify. There's a lot of costs involved in that, the incorporation costs, and we did a lot of research in the past because this has kept coming up. Because we were referring to ourselves as a quote-unquote club, and one of the first things we did is we came up with a list of garden rules. Kathy, you've had them, and
they're good.
All those rules were agreed upon by the group of people that come to the meeting. And granted, we might have 40 people signed up for plots,
And you might only get 10 people at a meeting. Some people told us they have to work that night or they have no interest in coming to the meetings. They're perfectly happy just planting and doing what they have to do. So you get a consistent crowd of people that are interested enough to come to the meetings. And we hash stuff out at the meetings. We go over the rules at the end of the season. We reflect on them and see if we have to change something. And we don't want to be like a Gestapo. It's like, this is for fun. We have guidelines because you have a group of people in a small area and you have to be respectful and have some type of structure so that you don't have problems. And it's a learning process. We've looked at other community gardens and how they're set up and stuff like that. And ours is unique because you have small plots. Most community gardens have 20 by 20 areas and you grow on the ground. Some of them are switching over to raised bed plots and stuff. But the whole goal from day one is that we did not want to become a political entity. That's why we kind of stayed away from the town. We didn't ask you guys for money or anything else. Everything we do, if we can't find the money or the donations to do it, we won't do it. I want to keep people involved that garden there. This is an experiment on how you can have a program or an activity without using taxpayer money. And there should be more of those that are self-sufficient. Everything is relying on subsidies and everything else. This is a very simple thing to do. And we had, ups and downs with going in different directions for the past couple of years, but nothing major. I must have got 50 new gray hairs this summer because, and I think it was either June or July, we had the agent from Rutgers come out, the master gardener from Rutgers come out and look at the garden, give us recommendations, identify bugs and everything else. And when it comes to garden, you have all kinds of diseases, molds, fungus, bugs. That's gardening. And from day one, we've tried to express to the people that are involved that we're managing, giving out plots and overseeing the rules and what have you, but you're given a plot of land, you take care of the dirt, you take care of the bugs, you take care of the plants. There's no guarantees. And it's kind of been going in a circle that, okay, we have to spray the whole garden, we have to do this, we have to do that. And I would say 99% of the people there, they want their own thing to do. They don't want their garden sprayed. Some people do spray. It's up to the individual gardener. There's no guarantees on weather, bugs, fungus, anything. You're gardening. It's your own responsibility. And unfortunately, when I say that, I think it falls on deaf ears because we keep going around in circles on that. But getting back to the master gardener, he gave us an excellent review. He said it was one of the nicest community gardens that he went to in all the community gardens that he goes to. And that's when the problem began. After that compliment, we had problems with bugs, we had problems with the soil. We spent our meetings that slowly it dwindled off. And the people that were coming were saying, I'm going to bring popcorn next time. This is better than anything on TV. So that was so frustrating for me. Robin and myself and a few of the other members have put in a tremendous amount of hours over there. And we will call you if there's a problem, on certain things, if your plants fall over, this, that, and the other thing. But mostly, we all try to work together and try to resolve the problems. But there's been an undermining wave that's been building and building up to the December meeting that the members are just fed up with it. So when we finally concluded that we did not want to, we want to keep the fee minimal. It's like $5. And that buys some, generic sprays and what have you. And we got tools. There's certain amount of maintenance with the water system and stuff like that. And we take care of all that stuff. And as far as the raised beds go, we're coming up with a solution that you'll either give a deposit when you start gardening, and it'll be like prorated. So if you're there for 10 years, you're not going to get any money back. If you go 1 year, you'll get 90% of your money back, and the next person coming in will assume that 90% fee. And that's how we could replace the raised beds. The other thought that I was thinking of lately is that you have 4x8 area, you have to maintain your raised bed. So if it rots, you replace it. If you're only there 1 year, so be it. We don't need the height in the raised beds like we initially had. We just need the delineation of your plot. So it could be a 2x6 or what have you. But once we knew that we could not incorporate and do all the filings for the 501c7 and all that, because that would raise the price probably to $20 a head. It'll cost $20 just for your insurance liability for the corporation and your directors and officers policy. You're probably going to pay at least $20 a head with the small number of people that we have. So that's when I talked to Robin and I said, let's see if we could do a program through Parks and Rec. Because I was getting more and more uncomfortable overseeing, and Robin also, overseeing the meetings, not having a directors and officers policy, because even though we're on township property, I could just see it coming down the road that, you know, well, you enforce the rules, you do this. Whenever you're directing any group of people, you're at liability unless you're covered. Am I not right, Bob? So I present, at the meeting we just had lately, last week, I went through the benefits of joining the team. This is what Parks and Rec gave us. And I read line per line for 15 minutes, this whole letter, and it spelt out all the things about how you get the Facebook page, you know, the advertisement on the site, the insurance, and everything else. I thought we answered all the questions, and we went over how everything was going to be done. I said that basically whoever signs this recreation program contract employee agreement should be the quote-unquote president and run the meeting. Their name is on the contract. They should have, I guess, the power to run the meeting because it's their reputation at stake. So everybody seemed to agree with that. And I said, it'll turn over from year to year. If somebody else wants to do it next year, you sign the agreement for the program, and then you set up whether you want committees or what have you. And nobody seemed to have a problem with that. We voted on this. We had, how many people, Robin? 35? I forget the...
Yeah, the numbers in the 20s.
20?
Mid-20s.
Mid-20s. We voted on it. We had everybody vote yes and one abstention. So I said, I'm not going to do this. I'm not signing it. You know, after all the grief I got this year, and people coming to council, coming to the manager, and not telling anybody of the other members, I was kind of stabbed in the back with it. And I said, anybody else wants to do it, here's your chance. Offered to a few people, no one wanted to do it. So I was done with it. I was washing my hands of it. All I wanted to do was just garden. I didn't want to have all the headaches and everything else. And a couple of the members said, will you do it for one more year until we can get this under our belt? And I'm still, believe me, I'm still torn with this. I don't know what I'm getting myself into because it seems like some of the issues are just not going to go away. And we have majority vote at the meetings, and it's usually unanimous votes, you know, is what we have. And if it doesn't go the way of some people, then they want to get council involved. There was talk of having a council liaison at our meetings.
We were not in favor of that, I can tell you that right now.
But I don't, it doesn't seem to sink in that we're a program. We're just a program, and it's just gardening. This is turned into a nightmare.
Why
you know?
just by having Parks and Rec facilitated as a program, you have guidelines, people have the rules, everybody agrees to it, it should resolve everything.
Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
The only thing that's changed is they're paying their $5 to Parks and Rec for it. That's the only thing that's changed. I know.
Yeah, which is...
Nothing's changed. If some people are still going to come to the meeting and just want to keep stirring the pot of controversy, I'm going to cancel the program. I'm going to go into Denise and just say, take me off of it.
Can I make a comment, Joe? Real quick. I think both you and Robin have done an outstanding job with it. You know, you've dealt with the public in the past, and you know there are always people who are going to not agree on something just for the sake of not agreeing. You guys really have done a good job with the garden, and I would hope that you continue to go forward with it, even though you may have one or two people who are not happy. You're not gonna make everybody happy.
Well, I can guarantee you'll probably have some people coming back to you guys, because what we want to focus on is we don't want to focus on talking about rules continually at our meetings. We want to focus on having we're going to have a booth at the farmer's market. We want to put programs on at the library. We want to focus on the hobby of gardening, not the controversy of power struggles.
Council does not want to be involved in this, believe me.
I'm giving you a heads up because I was also a little disappointed that I found out we were on the agenda for this council meeting, and no one ever contacted us up until I went into Parks and Rec to talk about the program. I don't know what was going to be discussed if I didn't know about the meeting.
when you went to Parks and Rec last week?
Yeah,
Because you weren't on the agenda till, that's what caused you to be on the agenda.
Right.
Is your meeting with Parks and Rec.
Yeah, because they decided at the,
I don't know about that, that's not what I was told.
I think.
We were already on the agenda, we were already scheduled to be on the agenda.
I think we had said,
and
right, there was a
Yeah, back in
discussion.
December.
We said, look, guys, look, if you want to discuss this, we'll discuss it at the January
Yeah.
14th meeting. We're not going to sit here and go back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, truthfully, we
That was
were-
back in December.
yeah.
23rd meeting.
Right, and then-
Yeah, when some
Yeah,
people
that's what I heard, that's why.
that
I
is
mean,
true, that it was
If I didn't-
asked to be put
If
on
I
as
didn't
a
go in for the
discussion.
program, I would not have known to come tonight.
That's our fault.
And then, yes, and then what was good was that you had the Parks and Rec meeting, and you guys had resolved a lot of the issues. So we knew that today's meeting would be, more just
So just so you know, out there,
facilitating.
during the year, there's more positive comments.
Yes.
And negative.
than-
No, believe me.
95% positive. Everyone loves what you do.
I know, and the gardeners that are over there keep saying, hang in there, just, put up with the stuff, but it's become disruptive that people aren't coming to our meetings. They don't want to have the controversy. So it's just, it's like anything else, there's a lot of frustration with it, but it's unnecessary. It should be focused, positive energy.
Yeah, it's
Instead of
taken a lot of the
destructive
fun
energy.
out of
A lot of
it.
the fun.
It's taken a
So,
lot of the fun
but,
out of it.
I think you should
Robin,
sign
you
it,
wanna
Joe,
add
and,
Yeah,
All right, Robin.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Joe, I think you should sign it and you'll have the support of the council.
Yeah, you'll definitely have the support, and I think just by doing that and continuing, give it a shot, I think it's going to get better. Yes, Robin?
Robin Jones, 4 Leverage Lane. Welcome to your mayor position, Melissa. Congratulations. Joe pretty much said almost everything that I wanted to say, but since I gave up a night where my family is somewhere else where I would rather be, but I knew I had to be here tonight, I better say something. One thing we need to get answers on, and this is all very new, that suddenly we're going to be under Parks and Rec, and I view it as a very positive step. I think we can work really well together. I've always worked well with members of Parks and Rec, so I'm looking forward to that relationship. There are a lot of things that still need to be ironed out. I think that perhaps Joe and I need to meet with Parks and Rec. It would be good to have Heidi, perhaps, because that's who we met with last week. Perhaps it'd be nice to have Heidi come to our next meeting and just explain the process so people can hear it firsthand, how it's working. And by then, perhaps we'll know a little bit more. Mary Ann brought up a really good point, which we had spoken about briefly, and that is membership, how that's going to work. I mean, right now, we allow plot or plots per household, and that's how they're charged, $5. Now, I think it's going to be $5 plus the $5 that Park and Rec needs for their own involvement in the registration and whatever else. I would hate to see that have to go up and have to be charged husband, wife, and any kid that wants to get involved. I would not favor that. So I'm glad that Mary Ann brought that up. That's one of many things that really need to be straightened out. I've been with the garden coming up on 5 years. There's 4 other people here, or at least groups of people that can say the same thing. We're all very dedicated gardeners here. We've had problems, but I view December's meeting as a real turning point, a real positive turning point. There are a lot of good things that I have in my mind that I have expressed before that I haven't expressed yet, where I see this garden going in the next few years. We have a lot of really positive things to do, and I think Parks and Rec can really help us with that as well. There's probably something else I'm forgetting, but I do want to thank you, especially Melissa and Rich, for being so positive, taking time out of your own schedules to come and talk to us on occasion. And for being so supportive of the community garden. I think we're worth that support because I think we're an excellent organization. It's a wonderful garden, and we'll continue to work through our problems. That's gardening. You're always going to have a problem. It's not perfect. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Robin. And as the council had already commented, we hear nothing but good things about the community garden. There was a couple of bumps in the road, but it seems like they're going to be worked out. So congratulations on doing a good job. Next on the items for discussion is committee appointments. That was something that we decided to put on as a discussion item.
I'm a little confused, and maybe.
Yeah, just talking about committees in general, not appointing people to committees, but.
Okay, we came up with a set of rules back in June or April or whenever.
Well, we started it. There was a draft started that I believe Kathy had put together and done some research.
We never altered our website or
And there was
anything.
just some things that I had gone through that I just wanted to discuss. And, maybe there are things we can do, maybe there are things we can't do. I mean, our philosophy has always been that if we have volunteers we want that want to serve and there's an opening, we usually just appoint if there's an opening. I'm thinking we might want to change our philosophy on that. Just because there is a vacancy doesn't necessarily mean you should fill it right away. You want to make sure you have the right mix of people and experience. And then I didn't know, I wanted to talk about maybe establishing some general guidelines or policy. I don't know if you can actually do a policy around the committees, but, I realize that some are statutory and some, aren't. So there might be guidelines that are different for both. But I just wanted to get the council's
What
feeling on
guidelines
it.
are you looking for? I mean, I thought we talked
It's-
about there should be 2 times of the year that we're doing appointments. And yes, I agree with you. If you have somebody who's interested in being a member on a committee, I would like to appoint them if we have an open spot, provided that they're not on 3, 4, 5 other different committees. But it gets to be a little confusing, especially at the end of the year, when suddenly, at the very last moment on December 31st and January 1st, we have 6, 7, 8, 10 applications coming in, when we've been advertising this since November, October.
Exactly.
And I think partially it's our fault for going out there and trying to solicit people to join these committees at the very last moment. And my opinion is, if you want to be on a committee, that's great, put your application in. I'm not going to chase people around to go onto committees. That's how we get too many people suddenly.
Right, at the
And then
very, at the 11th hour.
At the 11th hour, now we're telling people, oh, I'm sorry, you can't be on a committee because instead of having 1 person for that slot, we now have 4 people to fill that 1 slot. So that's kind of where we have to come up with some guidelines of, let's not go out and actively pursue people at the last moment. Let's put a cutoff date, just like Kathy said. Maybe we should appoint twice a year, once in June, once in January, or whatever. It just gets so confusing. I mean, I have folders and folders of applications where people.
Me too, yeah. Yeah, and that's what I'm getting
And I feel bad
at.
when I tell somebody, look, I'm sorry, but you didn't. I have an email from somebody that we neglected to tell that they're not on a committee. So, you feel bad about it after a while. If somebody's truly interested in being on a committee, we shouldn't have to be going out there soliciting for people, in my opinion.
Did anyone have to solicit this time for people? I don't think we
Somebody
did.
had to be, because at the last moment, we got a boatload of applications in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know which ones they were for, but, I mean, the only ones I know that came in late were...
Parks and Rec.
Yeah, Parks and Rec, there were some.
Planning Board of Adjustment, I could think of multiple ones.
Well, one of the policy rules that I was thinking too is, we need to make sure everyone's participating. We need to make sure, what if somebody misses a bunch of meetings and they're not coming to the meetings? Is there something we want to put in our...
It's easy for us to put attendance records on any of these committees.
But we don't have any guidelines.
Well, we have an unwritten guideline, and, we have never asked somebody to leave a committee, and I don't think that I would ever want to ask somebody to leave a committee. That's why there's terms on these. I mean, do you want to sit here and tell somebody, look, you've missed 3 meetings and we don't want you being on a committee anymore?
No, that's why I have it on for item for discussion. It was something I wanted to discuss.
I would be the first to say, look, I want to be involved.
I wanted to get everybody's feeling on it. One of the things I do think we should do moving forward after a reorganization meeting, the January meeting should not be held until letters can go out from the clerk's office for the appointments.
The reorganization meeting?
Well, yeah, like annually, you want to make sure that you don't
Deadline
have...
on that. That's just another reason why you have to have a deadline on putting these.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But I'm just saying, they shouldn't be having it wasn't an issue, but one of my committees had a meeting the day after the reorg meeting. Now, luckily, because that happened to be I was the liaison, I was able to call and email the people, so they knew that they were appointed, or, in this case, no one was not appointed, but I'm just saying, so they knew to come to the meeting.
More of a reason to have a hard line, or take a hard line on, this is the absolute last date that somebody can put in an application, and we as a
Yeah, it
group-
probably should be like June
Yeah.
15th and December 15th. We
Right.
should probably add that to this draft.
Right, and
Could.
that we meet December 29th or 28th
Right.
and decide who's gonna be on what committees, and
Right.
that's it. Well, that's basically what we did this time. We had met ahead of time, and we could have told people what committees they were on. But the problem is, until we vote on it,
It's not real.
It's
Yeah.
not real.
No. Well, that's why we should
I
adjust
agree.
this draft probably to the 15th. And I have to say, no matter how it was this time, it's better than prior times.
Right.
We
Yes,
keep
I-
getting
It was
better and better.
Yeah, we're getting
You
better,
know,
but I still
figuring
think,
out how to do
I still
this.
think there's lessons learned, so I would be interested in hearing from other council members. Dave, do you have any comments on this?
No, I mean, I'm fine with the cutoff date.
All right, just changing the cutoff dates, not necessarily having any other structure to it as far as,
I mean, right, you know, fair housing, Rocco, right in the beginning, you know, tells the committee, you missed 3 meetings, you're gonna be off the committee.
But he doesn't
Well,
have the right to
does-
throw anybody
and that's-
off the committee.
and that's why
Yeah,
I'm
we
bringing
actually
that
have
up.
a state statute that talks about if
Okay.
you miss a certain number,
Well,
you become absent, so we can, I'll get you a copy of that
Well,
tomorrow. when
he
you
doesn't
look
have
at
the
it.
right.
No,
It's
he
the
does
council.
not, that's
Right.
correct.
It's the council.
but it is something that I want the council to have that ability.
Yeah, actually, the committee is to report it to the council, and the council is to take the action.
Are there other communities that have local policies that kind of
Well,
put that into place? And I mean, I know some of the organizations I belong to, there's a process. There's an attendance policy where you're not permitted to have more than so many absences. If you do, you know, the chairperson is responsible to have a conversation with that person and, you know, determine whether there's an issue that's keeping them. And, you know, an official reporting of that to the governing body. So
And
it's
you-
more of the process.
And that's what I'm getting at.
And using a consistent policy avoids hurt feelings,
Yes.
avoids people thinking they're being picked on, because it's a straight out, and we do have, the state statute does leave an option for the council to limit a little bit shorter that period of time, so we can take a look at that.
Yeah.
We can know
Okay.
what the-
Yeah, that
Let's
would
start
be-
with what the state
Somebody's
law is,
gotta-
and then we.
That would
Right.
be something I'd want to look at.
Somebody's got to report to us, and that's
Of
one of the
course.
problems here. I went and looked at the records of some of our committees prior to our appointments, just to see who was showing up and who wasn't. But I had to ask the clerk, and the clerk had to dig up the paperwork and so forth. Somehow there's got to be a reporting mechanism back to us, whether it be the chairperson of that committee who comes in and says, or sends an email that says, look, I want you to know that so-and-so has missed 3 meetings. What do you guys want to do about it?
Well, probably what we should do.
Right, and that's what I'm looking
But
at.
again, the problem is, why should we be digging into that? The chairman of that committee should be
Right.
coming to us and saying, look, this person has missed 3 meetings.
And that's because we've never implemented a policy, and that's what I want to get after, is if there's, you know.
Well, what
if
we should do
can
is we
that,
should
we'll
have their
give-
minutes. We should
Right,
have their
we'll give
minutes being
direction.
reported to the clerk, and the clerk should have all the minutes.
All volunteers, and
Yes.
usually they're all friends. and
I agree.
Right.
that's
I agree.
Tough when you're gonna ask.
Yeah, and I wasn't necessarily.
Fine line we're treading here.
Yeah, and I agree, I wasn't looking at just absences, I mean, just like a general policy all around, whether it has to do.
Sleep at the meeting, 3 things at the meeting.
It was just.
You're off.
What's the niece doing back there? Oh, okay.
It was just a discussion item, and
One thing I
it was
think you
just.
do need, if you're gonna make a policy, is if you're on a board now,
Mhm.
you have to get your letter in by a certain date.
Yes.
Right.
December 1st, whatever,
Right.
so there's enough time, if you're not renewing,
I agree.
to do it. You know, coming in December 30th,
Doesn't work.
you've all tried to,
It becomes a
you know,
mess.
you're trying to get people in to, you know, fill the boards, and then all of a sudden, here comes an application.
Well,
It's a mess.
I think
So-
we've all agreed that we're gonna adjust those dates to December 15th and
I
June
thought we had
15th.
agreed to it already, and then we went off of that path this year again.
Well, it was a draft, it was never actually implemented, I
There's
guess,
dates in here.
was it?
You gotta pick a date, and whatever the date, you know.
What do we have to do, put this into ordinance?
I would just put at least on the web
I
page.
think, yeah, I think a resolution.
Yeah, a resolution is fine, doesn't need to be an ordinance.
Mayor, may I suggest that for our next meeting, we have some ideas here, we'll draft that into the form of a resolution. And I might also add that through my office, we'll develop what I would call a quick checklist form for all the departments, or all of the committees to use as far as, just if nothing else, reporting the attendance at each meeting.
The other thing I would suggest is I'd like to see more structure, if you all agree, to the way the agendas are posted, the minutes get posted, because I know some committees are better than others at getting it into the clerk's office. So like I gave direction to, Environmental Commission, can you send, the final approved minutes directly to the clerk's office the minute that they're approved so they can go up on the website, and that's working out well. It's just some of the other committees didn't seem to be following that exact structure. So I wanted to talk to you guys about that. Do you feel like it should be the committee chairs or chairperson to get those into the clerk's office? Do you want it to be the liaison's responsibility?
Should be the committee chairs.
Right, I agree.
The liaison is just the liaison.
Right,
The
I agree.
liaison should not be doing
Yeah,
anything
I
other
agree.
than being the
Yeah.
intermediate between the council and them. The liaison does not run these meetings.
I totally agree, and I felt like I was chasing them down.
Unless it's a paid employee, then I think it should be the paid employee's responsibility.
Right, but what paid
Exactly.
employees are on it?
Only on
Yeah,
like
there's
planning
Parks
board
and
and board,
Rec.
that's why
Fair
planning
housing.
board, board of adjustment, fair housing, those are the
Those
only
minutes-
4
right,
that
but those
work.
minutes are usually posted.
Yes, they are, but the other ones aren't.
Again, they're volunteer orders, or
I know.
volunteers.
But still, go ahead.
Since this is, a concern and an issue, you may want to consider identifying a position, which could be a staff person, could be, someone else. The way we have those, a lot of the secretaries set up is, a stipended position at, $100. But it provides a uniform and consistent, for not a lot of overall money. We're not talking a huge amount of money, but it's gonna give you the information you want on a timely basis, and it'll be done consistently.
Not necessary.
I know.
It's not necessary.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary. Yeah. And
Yeah, I'm gonna
let me just,
pull my
the
hair out.
last thing I'm gonna say about it is, I agree, I felt that when I just gave the direction to the group on what to do, they were able to, just have the chair handle it, and we just need to make that consistent with the other
What
committees.
did you do that with? You have 6, all 6 are doing?
Well, I'm just saying, no, what I said was the Environmental Commission, we already met this month, so I told them, we talked about how we can structure that better. So Environmental Commission has already taken the ball and ran with it, got everything to the clerk's office. It's some of the other committees that, weren't being consistent with getting the minutes, the approved minutes in. A couple of them, everything from, anything from shade tree to economic development to, flood. So I just want to make sure it's consistent across the board, if everybody agrees.
One thing, if we do a resolution, 2 boards, planning board, board of adjustment.
Yes.
December, I think by December 1st, we need to have your renewal in, because they're the only 2 boards we really have to go out and find people for. They need to be full. All the other boards can survive, but these are under municipal land use laws, and we have an obligation to make them function correctly, so.
I agree.
We need that date on those 2.
What's a safe date for the clerk to get to the committees whose terms are expiring?
They know on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, it's
They have a
published all the
listing that's
time.
available of all their members. That information is also on the website for each of the committees.
It's
Right,
there all the
and I would
time.
assume that the chairperson would also notify people that, look, just so you know, your term is up at the end of this year or whatever.
Wherever you'll be assigned to, it's that
Yeah.
first December meeting or November meeting.
November.
Yeah.
You, they're expiring. If you want, get your letter in.
Right. Yeah, I agree. That's what I did with mine, and I'm sure that's how it worked with the other ones. I guess the 2 last comments I wanted to make about committees was, I know we talked about only appointing in January and June. We're going to do that uniformly across the board, even if a committee like Economic Development had an opening and all of a sudden you found somebody that you really thought would make a difference on that committee. Do we wait the 6 months before we appoint that person, or do we make an exception on?
I would wait,
committees
because they
such
can
as
always
that?
go as a public member to any meeting they want.
Right, okay.
Nothing prohibits anybody going to any public meeting.
Right, at the reorg meeting, we made an exception for the economic development because we had taken remove somebody
Right.
off of that to put
Mhm.
them on another committee. That was the only one we made an exception for.
You're right.
Otherwise, June 15th and.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page and we're not changing any of the, I know we had expanded the number of people on committees, and at this point, we're comfortable with leaving them at those numbers,
Unless
correct?
you want to increase them because we have so many people.
No, I think we're good at the numbers we're at.
Yeah, the only time we would have to, appoint somebody in between is if there was somebody who was deceased or disabled or something, and it was a committee where you had to have a quorum for a vote. That's the only time we would have to do
Right,
something.
Which would be the planning board and
Right.
the board of adjustment.
Exactly.
All right, good. Any more
Otherwise-
discussion on it? I'm good. Everybody's good? Okay. Next item on the agenda is reports and notices. Do you want to read through some of these, Jay, or we don't need to? Okay. Okay. Those are on there. Next on the agenda is number 13, the manager's report. Mr. Holden?
Okay, I apologize for not having a written report. The events of the last 2 days kind of threw my schedule off a little bit. You do have an updated manager's project status report, and I do want to point out a couple things. The plans for the boulevard sidewalks are just about complete and will be out to bid in about a month for a spring project. Based on the available funding of the remaining sections that need to be done, which is from Sunset to the southern border, with the exception of a couple areas that have been completed, mostly near Geray School. We'll be able to do a little more than 50% of that entire length. Our current plan is to do complete the western side of the boulevard, so you have on one side of the road, a completed sidewalk from north to south, and from Sunset to Hillview School. And then over our next couple funding cycles, based on the level of funding that we have been committing each year, it'll probably be another 2 to 3 years and we'll have the boulevard finished. So
when you say the west side, you're talking about the side that is facing the mountain, basically? That's the west side?
Yes.
Okay, that's where the asphalt or sidewalk is, kind of, part of that?
well, it has sidewalks on both sides.
No, but on the west side, there's asphalt right there. That's,
You're talking about by Sunset?
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
right.
going further down Sunset.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Jacksonville.
That's Sunset.
Or, no,
This is the boulevard.
Right, but going from Sunset towards Jacksonville.
There's like that asphalt sidewalk as opposed to a
Yeah, well,
concrete.
there's only,
Yeah.
asphalt is on both sides. There's only a couple sections where it's concrete.
Well, it's only one part where it's really rippled though.
Yeah,
it's really bad. Thanks,
the
Robin.
area,
Yeah.
it's very, very bad. The camera, obviously there is a camera here, so that we will get our meetings back up and on. We continue to look at a couple other alternatives. We did have a brief conversation with Ryan after the last meeting, and the prices that he was giving us were much more reasonable than some of the quotes we have in the past. So temporarily resolved, but to continue. I did distribute to you a copy of our new employee handbook. This is the first time we've actually done a full printing of it since 1998. It's nice to have a current modified version. Thank you for taking the steps you did at the end of last year so that we could complete this. It has been distributed to all our employees. Some of those policies are new, and we'll be holding an employee meeting within the next couple of weeks to go over some of those policies. I wanted special thanks to Pete Coriel and Diane in my office for the work in putting that together, as well as my policy committee, which is primarily the department heads. It's been a long-term project that has started and stopped as a result of issues that we've dealt with over the last couple of years. I'm glad it's complete. And the last thing I have is we do have a closing schedule for Thursday. This is the last of the 2011 open space grant closing. So once that is done, we'll be able to close that grant out. And again, it's something else we can kind of cross off. We're still dealing with FEMA, but this has been something for 2 years or more, I think, that we've been working on this particular. So that's all I have for this evening.
Good, okay. Next item on the agenda is council reports and announcements. We'll start with Councilman Cole.
All right, Fair Housing will meet on January 22nd. As Bill said, Parks and Rec met last night. Bill Zickler is the chair, Tom Andrea is the vice chair. Open Space also met last night, as Frank said. Frank Spizzeri is the chair, Robin Jones is the vice chair, Chris Latito is the secretary. And I'm looking forward to working with all of my committees, the town residents, and of course my fellow council members for a great 2014.
Great, thanks, Steve. Kathy?
All I have is Historic Commission met. They have the same slate of officers for the website. Jay Wanzik, the chair, and the vice chair is Bob Safarik, and everything else is the same. I do have a question from the Historic Commission on the Martin Berry House. Do we have kind of a path forward, since we bounced some emails back and forth about an appraisal?
Yes.
Okay.
We're going to solicit quotes for the appraisal as
Okay.
we would for a normal open space purchase.
Okay, good.
Using standards that will be sufficient to apply for grant funding.
Good.
And I hope by our next meeting I will have those proposals so that council can.
Yeah, because I think Ed had called me today. I guess there's some
Yeah.
deadlines for some grant money.
Yes, I spoke with that today.
Okay, good. Okay. All right, that's it.
Rich?
I don't have any committee reports, because all I have is first aid and planning. Or, yes, planning, I'm sorry, but Jay's gonna take the planning, but I do have a question for Dave. Jetta almost got swallowed in a pothole there on Sunset and Bull Run. It's really bad. There's a really bad pothole there. Are you aware of it? Okay. Oh, that's right, you were on your way that way today.
So you don't need a pickup truck.
That yesterday?
Jetta can go.
You'll need homeowners.
Right. Jetta was almost swallowed up in that hole today.
Okay,
All right.
that's it?
That's it.
Jay?
Nice. Planning board, Stop and Shop was in for a sign. Had a representative, a few details were a little sketchy, so they're gonna come back in February to discuss it. Also, planning board will get very busy very shortly. Quite a few projects starting to pop up for the town. Fire departments both had their meetings. Only 2 officers are new for this year. It's off to a very positive start. Looking for a very good year. The long-awaited ballots for the parking lot will be, if they're not in today, they will be in tomorrow. Shade Tree is going to meet the end of the month. That's it. Employee manual, they go into the fire departments too, or?
Not to every member, but the chiefs will have copies, so they're aware of what the current relevant policies are.
Okay. Night pay through, well, I guess the chief could give a quick overview at the meetings, or?
Yeah.
Sometimes they forget their employees, you know.
Yes, and I had provided, not the full manual, but a copy of the new computer and, IT policy to both chiefs. Late last year after it was adopted, so the chiefs were aware of it. I'm not sure that the new line officers are, but I'll make that happen.
Maybe you can give them some of the highlights to chiefs of what they should touch on.
Okay.
Okay. That's it.
Mayor, can I ask a question real quick today? There were no bills to approve this?
No, this is, and we don't normally the first meeting of the year because of the end of year closeout. We haven't fully rolled our system, and our 2014 accounts were not available in sufficient time to create a bill list.
Thanks.
Okay. All right, that's it down there? Okay. I just wanted to say yesterday, Councilman Cole and I attended the Stephen J. Gervais groundbreaking ceremony for the gym. It was scheduled for this morning, and because of the weather forecast, they had moved it up to yesterday at the last minute. So, we're looking forward to seeing the new gym at SJG for all of the kids to use. It's the only elementary school that didn't have a gym, so all the kids were excited about it. They were all out there and enjoying it. So, as far as my reports, the Environmental Commission met. There was some discussions around doing some plantings on some of the vacant lots. They were going to make some recommendations for once all of these houses that had come down, and they were talking primarily like on Pequannock Ave, where there was still a lot of, I guess the houses were knocked down, but everything hasn't been moved out yet. So they had some ideas on maybe what we can do with those vacant lots, but more to come on that. Flood Committee met. They're gathering. Actually, Louise, thank you. You already gave the report on that they're still gathering information and wanting to hold public sessions to educate the homeowners and encourage elevations. Library Board meets tomorrow, and the Green Team meets at the end of the month. So that's it for me. Next item on our agenda is public comment. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized to come to the microphone and provide your name and address for the record. Alberta.
Good evening. Congratulations, Melissa. And thank you, Council, for all your hard work all year. I just have a question. Dave,
state your name and address.
I'm sorry?
State your name and address for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry. Alberta Oliva, 75 West Parkway, Pompton Plains. Dave, did you inquire about reducing our membership on fair housing for committee members from 5 to 3? Was that approved or no?
I think it was from 7 to 5, wasn't it?
Or 7 to 5, right. Was that approved?
I did discuss it in the December meeting, and it wasn't approved because we had 2 people that applied for the Fair Housing Committee.
Oh, so we're still at 7. Ay. Okay, and the other thing is, I mentioned about this stain that's on this road that drives me around the bend. I'd be more than happy to buy the Resolve and bring it in for the cleaning people, because it will come out. Do you want me to do that? I'm happy to do that. But Resolve will take that stain out. This is really not, it's disgusting. So if you change your mind, you want me to buy the Resolve, just call me, Dave. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Alberta. Anyone else? Yes, Louise.
Louise Marchese of 16 Roland Road. I just wanted to mention, as far as committees and boards go, if in the event we decide to enforce the missing of 3 meetings rule, I think it should be taken into consideration that we should have excused as opposed to not excused, because there are medical reasons, funeral, etc.
And the statute does talk about that. The committee can vote to excuse any absence, and that does not count then as a missed absence if the committee votes to excuse.
And the same thing if we're going to enforce any other rules or policies for committees and or boards, I think it should be done uniformed. And just for the record, EDC's minutes are always in on time.
Thank you, Louise. Okay, anyone else? All right. Next item on our agenda is closed session.